You will live your life in anguish, thinking that a tragedy has occurred. Whenever you see your other son growing up, you will say, Ryan should be here. When he graduates from high school, you say, Ryan should have graduated. When he finds his wife, you will say, Ryan should be getting married too. And through all of this time, you will be imposing on your other son a burden to carry, because no matter what he does or how successful he is, he will be causing mommy pain. If you look at Ryan as a soul, a great soul like yourself, who voluntarily entered the Earth School and voluntarily left it in order to be with you and to offer gifts, then you will begin the process of fathoming and appreciating and becoming grateful for the power of the interaction that you had with that soul. And you will be able to receive the gifts that that soul came to this earth to give you, to give Ira, to give to his siblings. And if you do not, you will continually be turning away from those gifts. You will be denying the very wealth of wisdom and compassion that was offered to you by this soul.
Well, that may be the most powerful thing I ever heard you say. That's pretty powerful. That is pretty powerful. That still is one of the most amazing, powerful stories I've ever heard, because it allows us all to, for just a moment, glimpse, even if you don't believe it, glimpse the notion that you are bigger than your body, that you are bigger than your personality. And I could see in her face, in the mother's face, that she got it. I know we saved her, and in that moment, you know what I thought? We also saved her living son. We just, in that moment, changed the life of her living twin. Imagine going your whole life, being the twin that lived and having to be sorry all your whole life that your brother didn't make it, and having to carry that burden for your mother, for your father, for the whole family, because you're the one that lived. In that moment, Gary saved that living twin from having to grow up that way. That was something really special. "11 years ago, we met a young mother stuck in her grief after the death of her infant son. Jody, with her husband Ira at her side, delivered tiny twin boys, Ryan and Spencer. Sadly, Ryan only lived a few short days, and his death took over their lives. Ira and Jody had one of the most enlightening conversations with one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Gary Zukov.
As a soul.
Do you feel that his soul lives on, and that somehow or some way that we can, contact that soul or feel that soul?
You are feeling it right now. Every one of us feels the soul of Ryan right now at this moment. Every one of us feels the soul of Ryan. And that's really what Gary's talking about in multisensory perception. If you only, in the book about multisensory perception, if you think it's only what you can see, then you're missing the whole point. Because every one of us saw that story, heard that, and now feel the presence of your son, who was only here for a short few days. And his own little life, weighing 1.5 pounds, has impacted, through the telling of that story, millions of people. We all feel it. What do you think? We're all feeling that right now. Are we not, Gary?
We are. I am.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice to know.
And yes, the answer to your question is yes. Yes. However, I would also say that to look at this soul as Ryan would be to diminish the power and scope of the presence that came into your life and chose a personality, in this case, of an infant named Ryan. In other words, the soul is a great deal more than this personality, just as you are a great deal more than the personality that you are, Ira. And if you begin to look at your interaction with Ryan as an interaction with a soul, then you will not so much have a tendency to be involved in the sentimentalism of thinking of Ryan the soul, but begin to experience the power of this soul who came to be with you and took the form of Ryan for a few days.
There were some days, and this was one of those days, where I recognized that what has happened here is far greater than the show. What is going on in this moment as I am sitting there watching Gary Zukov carefully choose his words, and I knew that he was preparing himself to answer the question in such a way that it could be heard, that he wasn't going to just say words, but that he really was trying to channel an energy and a feeling so that she and I and Ira, her husband, and everybody else in that room could hear in the clearest, with the greatest sense of knowing that what he was saying was to be believed. I could feel that happening in the room, and I will tell you, that was a holy moment. It was a holy moment, what happened in that room that day. And what I love about this story is it causes me to think about my own soul and everybody around me. It causes me to just for a moment stop and disconnect from the personalities, from the egos, from all the stuff, from everybody presenting themselves as themselves, and to recognize that it's all bigger than we can ever imagine. And years later, we're still talking about a 1.5 pound baby boy called Ryan. We showed that story years ago, and around the world, other people who saw that story and lost children were impacted by the soul, the coming to earth, the incarnation of a little boy they called Ryan.
It was 2 months after my sons were born that I saw the show. I was shocked when I saw there was this couple, and they started telling my story. They had twin boys that were premature. One of their sons lived, and the other one died.
Kim had also given birth to twins. Her son Alex died 15 minutes after he was born.
They had told me that Alex wasn't going to make it. He wasn't breathing right. And so I held him. And he breathed like, and then he never exhaled. And then I knew he had died. And how am I ever going to be the same after this happens? I could not imagine being that broken and ever being able to be fully happy and fully myself ever again. Seeing Jody and Ira that day, it allowed me to begin to find a higher meaning than I had ever thought was in the death of my son. What I learned was that my Alex was so much more than the 1 pound, 12-inch baby that I had held in my arms. He was this infinite soul with this amazing power to help others. And it gave me peace.
I would say for anybody who is living through that process to understand that it is a process and that you can come out of it is really valuable to know, and to think of life not in terms of just the body, but in terms of bigger than the body, whatever you choose to call it. Gary uses the word soul, so do I. I also use the word energy. And I often say to people who have lost loved ones, because I feel this in my own spirit, that when you lose somebody in the physical form, the formless becomes an angel that you know. want to share something with you that's one of the best lessons I learned about holding on to the past. It came from one of our experts, Iyanla Van Zant, many years ago. Well, you see, I keep a quote book over the years, and when I run across nice sayings or wonderful quotes, Iyanla had said something on a show, and I remember going home and writing it down in my little quote book. See my little quote book? And this is what she said, and it struck me so profoundly, I want to share it with you. You can accept or reject the way you are treated by other people, but until you heal the wounds of your past, you will continue to bleed. You can bandage the bleeding with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex, but eventually it will all ooze through and stain your life. You must find the strength to open the wounds, stick your hands inside, pull out the core of the pain that is holding you in your past, the memories, and make peace with them. Iyanla Van Zant. The sooner you can let go of the past, the sooner you can get on with the now, the living of your life. And that holding on to the past allows everything that is in the past to constantly be relived through the process of your daily life. And if you don't let it go, it becomes a wall, a barrier that prevents you from moving forward. And not only prevents you from moving forward, it prevents you from being all that you can be and preventing you from having the vibrancy, the aliveness, the charge, the glory that your life really should be.